With some movies, there really is no better way to describe them. They are just stupid. Does that mean they're bad? No, it just means they're dumb. Oftentimes, they're intentionally dumb, which is much better than a movie that thinks it's smart but is really idiotic. Here are 5 overlooked stupid movies. Wacko. Wacko is a 1982 horror comedy from director Graydon Clark. This was Clark's follow-up after the very underappreciated Without Warning in 1980. A movie that if you haven't seen, I give it a genuine, serious recommendation. It's a great monster movie. Wacko's a spoof on the wave of slashers we were getting at the time. It's about Dick Harbinger, played by Joe Don Baker, a cop who's driven by one goal, to prevent history from repeating itself. Roughly 13 years ago on Halloween night, a killer with a jack-o'-lantern for a head killed numerous kids with a lawnmower. The killer was never caught, and Harbinger rightly believes that the killer is coming back this Halloween to do it again. The movie opened on November 12, 1982 in Canada, and then had a small theatrical release in the US in January of 1983. This movie is a riot. You have Baker playing the straight man in a way that kind of reminds me of an alternate universe Frank Drebin. It's full of all kinds of bad jokes, goofy moments, and lots of references to other horror movies from the time. The cast is great, with the aforementioned Baker, as well as Stella Stevens, George Kennedy, Jeff Altman, Anthony James, Charles Napier, and a young unknown Andrew Dice Clay as Tony the Schlong Schlongini. It's really stupid. Some of the references won't make sense now, and the jokes are hit or miss, but I love it dearly. The movie's available for streaming on Freevee, however, there is a better way to watch it. The movie was restored and got a 4K release from Vinegar Syndrome in 2019. Simon Says. There was a time when Hollywood was determined to make basketball player Dennis Rodman a movie star. In 1997, they paired him with Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie Double Team. He was pretty good, but I think he worked better as a co-star, as opposed to him having his own solo movie. The producers at Independent Artists thought differently as they greenlit the film that would give Rodman the lead role in the action film Simon Says. Although people thought that this was a spin-off of his character from Double Team, which it is not. This was his first and I'm pretty sure last time as a lead. Rodman plays a hip Interpol agent trying to stop some insane arms dealers. Along the way, he befriends a variety of misfits, blows a bunch of stuff up, has sex with his model spy girlfriend, and makes basketball jokes. The movie opened on September 24th, 1999 in 29th place. To be fair, it only opened in 504 theaters, but it got beat by The Mysteries of Egypt, which was playing in 21 theaters. Oof! I look at this movie as the moment the world stood up and said, no, we really don't want more Dennis Rodman. The movie is downright silly. Really silly, but it tries to play it straight, which makes it even more silly. From Ricky Harris and John Panette playing computer hacker monks, to the gigantic assassin lover girlfriend, this movie is more cartoonish than an actual cartoon. They even had an unknown at the time, Dane Cook, in the film. Apparently, he was replacing Robert Downey Jr., who dropped out right before filming began. Kinda shows you where his career was at the time. It's filled to the brim with explosions, ridiculous action scenes, and in a way, it feels like the prototype version of Triple X. Although Rodman isn't the reluctant hero, he's the over-the-top, kicks everyone in the head and smiles about it bad boy who is really the good guy. What an absolutely laughably dumb but somehow magically entertaining movie. Watch it with friends and you will have a great time goofing on it. By the time you see this, it will no longer be available for streaming. It was on Tubi until June 26th. It's on video on demand, or you can track down the DVD. Student Bodies. Possibly the best known of the 80s horror parodies. Student Bodies is a 1981 horror comedy from director Mickey Rose. This was the first film to mock the slasher genre, but unlike many others, this did it in a loving way. The movie's about a serial killer called the Breather. Why did they call him that? Well, in every POV shot, he's breathing heavily, to a ridiculous degree.
Sugarless.
The Breather is killing students at a local high school. One of the most obvious jokes is the age of the students. They're supposed to be teens, but clearly are in their late 20s, and some, I feel, are in their 30s. The movie goofs on everything from slashers like Halloween, Prom Night, and Friday the 13th to non-slashers like The Wizard of Oz.
Dead bodies downfield, 15-yard penalty.
They hired a cast of largely unknown actors and actresses because that was the most cost-effective way to do the film, much like the movies it was parodying. In a very early career performance, Richard Belzer is the voice of the breather. The movie was released on August 7th, 1981. The movie only opened in 628 theaters, but it did very well. It made over $5.1 million domestically, which was quite good for a smaller film like this. The creators of the movie were really ahead of their time. The movie is full of fourth-wall breaking things like the kill count appearing on screen, to the narrator explaining that this film needs to get an R rating and what he does to get it. While it did well theatrically, it did even better on cable and then later on home video, where it gained a good chunk of its audience. Now, this is a parody of slasher films done in a very silly way that injects actual humor and not just a bunch of references like the later Scary Movie movies. It's a genuine parody of the genre, not a mockery. The movie was released on Blu-ray with Jekyll and Hyde together again in 2011, but it got a much better restoration a few years later in 2015 by Olive. It's not available for streaming, but it's on video on demand, or you can get the Blu-ray from Olive. Saturday the 14th. Saturday the 14th is a great title, but it's not a parody of slasher films, namely Friday the 13th. This instead takes aim at the old classic monsters like Dracula and Frankenstein. Although most people thought this was going to be a goof on Friday the 13th because it came out right around the release of Friday the 13th Part 2. The movie's about a family that inherits a house from a deceased uncle. Hidden within the house is an evil spellbook, and two vampires are desperately trying to get in so they can steal the book. The youngest boy, Billy, finds the book, which unleashes a bunch of evil into the house, and hilarity ensues. There are plenty of reasons to watch this film, but Jeffrey Tambor as a vampire is one of them. The movie was based off an idea from producer Jeff Began, who got his start with Roger Corman working on The Swinging Cheerleaders in 1974. Began discussed the idea with director Howard Cohen, who took it to Roger Corman. Corman liked it, so he hired Cohen to write the screenplay and direct. Roger's wife Julie thought it was so funny, she stepped in as producer, and Roger was the uncredited producer and distributed the film through New World Pictures. The film is full of all sorts of references and homages to other horror franchises, although a mistaken one is Elm Street. Many now think this was a reference to A Nightmare on Elm Street, but it isn't, because this movie predates that one by 3 years. It's just a coincidence. The film was released on October 30th, 1981. Critics hated it, but audiences enjoyed it. While the movie didn't go over incredibly well in theaters, it was very popular on home video and cable. The film was restored a few years ago by Shout Factory's horror division, Scream Factory. You can watch the movie streaming on Amazon or Tubi, or buy the Blu-ray from Shout. There was a sequel released 7 years later in 1988, Saturday the 14th Strikes Back. It was also written and directed by Howard Cohen, but is an entirely new story with a new cast. The Stupids. I can't possibly do a video on stupid movies without The Stupids. Although really, it's not the stupidest film. Oh sure, there are stupid things within the film, but it's kind of clever in the way it handles its stupidity. Alright, realistically, it's pretty stupid, but still very funny. At least to me. How can you not love a movie where the ad campaign is, Tom Arnold is stupid? The Stupids is about the Stupid family. The father, Stanley, believes there is a massive conspiracy that the trash company is stealing everyone's garbage. The family then goes on a trip to uncover the truth, which leads to all sorts of hilarious moments involving aliens, illegal arms dealers, and Christopher Lee. My personal favorite gag is when Stanley sings I'm My Own Grandpa on live television.
I'm my own grandpa. Everybody!
A little known thing about the film is it was directed by none other than John Landis. With Animal House, The Blues Brothers, Three Amigos, Coming to America, and Trading Places, he knows a thing or two about comedy. Although his movies are usually aimed at an older audience, this was an attempt to do comedy for a younger generation. The movie was loosely based on the kids' book series from Harry Allard and James Marshall. The movie was released on August 30th, 1996. Critics trashed the film, but that was to be expected. The movie was a massive flop. It opened in over 1,200 theaters, but still only managed to land in 15th place. The movie grossed a little under $2.5 million in its theatrical run. I always thought this went direct to video because I never heard anything about it until I saw the trailer before another VHS movie. This was Landis's biggest failure, which really hurts me because that honor should be the horrendously unfunny year one. Anyway, The Stupids won a bunch of Razzie Awards, including Worst Picture, and Landis was nominated for Worst Director, including Worst Screenplay. Tom Arnold got a hat trick with Worst Actor for Big Bully, Carpool, and The Stupids. Meanwhile, Landis is happy with the movie. He said it was very successful on TV and home video. He said he made it for 10-year-olds who think it's hilarious. Apparently, I have the sense of humor of a 10-year-old. I'm fine with that. It's not available for streaming, but it is on DVD and video on demand. Sometimes we just need something a little stupid. I love a good, intelligent, thought-provoking film. However, there is nothing wrong with enjoying something that is considered dumb. I'd rather have something that is intentionally dumb than something that insults your intelligence. I enjoy being able to sit back and laugh like an idiot sometimes. It's a good reminder to not take every single thing so seriously. It's cathartic and yes, good for your mental health to just relax and embrace the stupid. It's better than embracing the suck, although that is also sometimes seen as stupid.
Ooh, Navy SEALs!
Now that's a well-made shoe.